What's up, you guys? Happy Monday! All right, so it's Monday. I was thinking about this morning, so give me a high when you guys jump on. But when I was in my struggle, so obviously we're talking about all the food and body stuff and change and all that good stuff for the next couple weeks. But when I was really in my struggle, I remember that my weekends went two ways, right? It was either I restricted everything and I felt bad and I didn't get to enjoy stuff that I wanted to do, and I didn't get to have ice cream with my kids, and maybe I didn't have wine. And then on Monday morning, I was like, oh, well, I at least feel skinny. Or it went the other way, and it was like, well, I had wine and I had ice cream or whatever. Those are my go-tos. Can you tell? And I had fun and I enjoyed myself and I did whatever. And then I'd wake up Monday morning feeling guilty and puffy and all of those things. So I remember thinking, like, it's basically like the diet shame cycle, and I could have one or the other, but I could never find a balance. And so I felt like for me, I would get to a certain point where I'd be like, okay, this is like my base, and if I can just get past this, then I'll feel a certain way, right? So let's be clear, you guys, most of the time when we're looking to lose weight, when we're looking to diet, when we're looking to change those things up, actually all we're searching for is to change the feeling that we have, right? The feeling that we have around ourselves, the feeling that we have around food. We're just looking to change that feeling. But we think that if we change our bodies, if we do something on the external side, then it's going to change. So what I want to talk about, and I was like, gosh, so I read this book called The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks, and it's a great book. So if you guys haven't read it, you should read it. But he talked about glass ceilings, and I'm like, why do I have this glass ceiling? Like, why can't I get to a certain point and then I would fall off and fall off. And my fall off is never bad, guys. Like my weight literally never changed. So like, if you didn't know that I was crazy on the inside, you wouldn't have known that, right? But I was. So I would be like, why do I self-sabotage? Like, why do I do this? And so we talked about why last week, and I was like, well, my why just must not be big enough. I must not really hate myself that much. I remember actually saying that. Like, I must really hate my body that much. And it's none of those things, right? And I've had so many people like, well, I just don't have willpower. I don't have whatever. So I want to talk today about why we self-sabotage, and why it's not your fault, and what we need to do about it, okay? So that is literally what Flow Launch is going to be about. So Flow Launch, 6-week program. We start in 2 weeks. We start in a week. Hey, Chrissy. I'm going to change that up a little bit. I'll talk to you guys about that later. But anyway, starts in a week. 6-week program that we're going to work together as a group, and we're going to fix this, okay? So fix it, shift it. We're going to shift it. But basically what happens is so many people, so I've owned a gym for 10 years, right? I've trained people for 20. So the easiest thing to do is to start taking action, right? And so it's super easy to be like, okay, I'm going to take some action. I'm going to change my nutrition. I'm going to eat a little bit better. I'm going to start going to the gym. I'm going to do these things, right? Which is great. You need to do that, right? Like, you have to be taking action. So we start taking action, and that's awesome. And then eventually it goes away, right? And why does it do that? Well, there's two things. So many of you guys are stuck in perfectionism, and we're going to talk about that. Hey, Brandon, we're going to talk about that tomorrow. But for most of us, we do one of two things, or we do one thing, right? We change this. We're chasing a feeling that we think is weight loss, and it's not. So we change our actions, and we change some of the results that we're getting, right? And we can do that for a short amount of time. But then what happens, so I want you guys to think there's a space, right? So there's an actual space. Over here are your actions and your results. And on this side are your beliefs, your thoughts, and your feelings. So this space in between them, if I had a whiteboard, I would draw it for you. There's space in between is what actually causes self-sabotage, is that our bodies want consistency, okay? I don't even care if that consistency is not something we enjoy. You've ever been in a bad relationship and you keep repeating that bad relationship? It's because you like consistency. That's what your body knows. It's what it goes for. So we change our actions and we get some different results, but we don't change the underlying beliefs, and we don't change the thoughts, and we don't change the feelings that go around it, right? So it's a thing called BITFAR. So beliefs, thoughts, feelings, actions, results, okay? So over here, gosh, I hate this. I need my phone the other way. So over here, we have the three: beliefs, thoughts, feelings, or beliefs, thoughts, and feelings, okay? If we don't work on these, eventually the actions over here are going to go away, okay? Because we get stuck in this space. So what we need to do is that we need to, at the same time that we change our actions, we also need to get really clear on what that underlying belief is, what the thoughts that are going with it are, and what the feelings that are going with it are. Because if we don't understand that our thoughts and our feelings are ruling the game, and our underlying belief is actually what's changing everything, right? So I was talking to one of my one-to-ones last week, And we were talking about what's going on, and she's like, gosh, I'm doing so good. I feel like there's been so much emotional healing, but like I'm still struggling with, you know, how I feel with my relationship with food. And I said, okay. So I said, how do you see yourself? And she said something to the extent of fat and frumpy. And I was like, okay, so do you believe that? And she's like, well, I don't know. And I was like, okay. So she also goes to our gym. I'm like, you show up every day and you CrossFit and you're an athlete. If I had you say I'm an athlete, could you say that? And she was like, no. And I was like, okay, could you say I'm in the process of becoming an athlete? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, okay, so here's the thing. Her underlying belief is that she's not an athlete, that she's not worthy of losing weight, that she's not worthy of love, that she's not worthy of, like most of us guys, it's a worthiness wound, believe it or not. I didn't believe I had one, totally have one. And so I was like, until we change that belief and we start to be like, I'm an athlete, that's my belief, I'm going to think like an athlete, I'm going to have sensations that remind that like an athlete would have, right? We get to shift all of those things, right? But first we have to observe them. So we talked about this all the time. We have to be able to observe it. We have to be able to observe like, well, what was that sensation I had? What was that thought, right? Because if we don't start to shift the sensations and then the stories that go with them, we're going to stay in that. And then that space, we get sucked back, right? Like the results and the actions will just get sucked back if we don't start to move the beliefs and the thoughts and the feelings to get in line with them, okay? And that is the problem that I see as I've done both sides. You guys, I've worked with people just in the emotional side. And do they have amazing changes and they feel worthy and they love themselves? Yes, absolutely. But then they're like, yeah, but what do I do over here now with this relationship with food, right? Because I still don't understand how to change my beliefs and my thoughts and my feelings around food and nourishment and not dieting, right? And so that's exactly what I want flow to be. You guys, that's exactly what we're going to do is we're going to do the work on both sides, okay? We're going to change the actions and we're going to change the results, but we're also going to dive deep into like, what are those underlying beliefs and what are the thoughts that are going with them and what are the feelings? How do we reroute those? How do we uncover them? How do we observe them without judgment, right? At the same time that we're changing our actions, right? And so really when you think about what launch is, it's getting all of those things, Cal, is to actually launch in the right direction, right? Not like one going in the right direction and the other one's like, what do I do down here, right? Or one going in the right direction and the other one like, meh, I still don't know what to do down here, okay? So that is my mission for you guys, is that we take all of these things because they all have to work together. We can't just work on one thing. It doesn't work. And what you guys will see is like, this is for everything in your life. So yes, are we talking about food and body? Yeah. Can you apply it to relationships, to your money mindset, to your business, to literally everything, your parenting skills, like all of these things. And we start to be like, wow, what is my underlying belief? What are the thoughts that I have? What actions am I taking? What are the sensations? And what are the stories that go with them, right? Like we get to destroy those stories. I talk all the time, you guys, about being the creator. And you are the creator. But you also need to know you're the destroyer of those stories that are not serving you, right? And so we get to, in this nice little ball, like it's not really linear, but they're all happening at the same time. You're like, oh, why did I think that? That was weird. Like I literally all the time now, you guys, like I'll say stuff. Like I said something the other day and I was like, I'm reading this book called The Dark Side of Light Chasers. And it's basically like understanding your shadow and the things that, why things trigger you and whatever. It's very interesting. And so I said something and I was like, I don't think that's a belief of mine. But the way in which I phrased it, I was like, oh my gosh, maybe it is, right? And so it's really being the observer of like, what are you thinking? What are you feeling? Where did it come from? And then getting to shift it without judgment, right? Just without judging it, without judging the part of you that doesn't want to feel those things or have those thoughts or whatever. You just get to be with them. They all get to be fine. There's no good. There's no bad. You're not good. They're not bad. Food's not good. Food's not bad. Like it all just is, right? Like when you just get to be in observation, then you get to shift and it's so easy. And when you start to do that, you really will get to see those things shift. And like, I even went through that and I talked about that a little bit yesterday where I was like, but I know all the things, but I don't know how to do the things together without feeling like I'm in lack and blah, blah, blah. So anyway, I just want to get that concept out to you guys. It's called BITFAR. So belief, thought, feeling, action, result. Okay. So I want you to, and the next couple of days, just think about like, okay, so what are the thoughts and the feelings that I have around my body, around food, around nourishment, around dieting, about changing, about shifting? Like, what are those thoughts and those feelings, right? When you think about the word diet, how does that respond to you viscerally? Because when I say the word diet, even though my brain knows diet is anything that you use to nourish your body, when I say the word diet, my whole body goes, like total contraction, total lack energy, total just like, that's something I don't want to do. I don't want to feel like that. So like when you think about certain things like that and you're like, okay, so why do I have that response? Well, I have that response because I restricted my food for 25 freaking years, right? But now I can say diet and actually understand that like that's a different sensation. And I can also understand that that's an old story, right? So I really just want you guys to pay attention to like, has this happened in your life? So think back, like have you been able to take action and get some results for a while and then you always go back to where you were? Like, why is that? This is why, right? So really think about, well, what's your underlying belief? Like, do you think that you deserve it? Like, if you don't, we'll talk about why, and that comes from childhood. But like, think about how many times that's happened in your life. And if you want to shift that and you want to stop doing that and you want to learn how to take inspired action from a place of love and bring your beliefs and your thoughts to meet them, then we need to talk. Okay. So Flow launch is the 24th of June. I haven't really talked about price. I don't really know why. Sometimes forget that part. But anyway, program's $299. So it's $299 for 6 weeks. You're going to get weekly video modules that I will release. It's all online. It's all on a portal. I'm going to give you healthy, nutritious recipes. I'm going to give you a playbook of things to really think about and go through. I'm going to give you audio practices. So I call them meditations, but that scares people. So we're going to call them audio practices. So guided intention setting essentially is what they are to really get you to think and get into your body. And then you're going to get weekly live coaching calls as a group with me. So beyond a crazy amount of value, there's so many of you that I know you need this, and I know this is going to change everything. So the first 10 that sign up, I'm going to give you guys a free 60-minute bonus training. So right now there's 7 signed up. I've got a couple on the fence. So if you want to be in those top 10, let me know. I will drop the sign up sheet when I get off of this. But if you have questions, please DM me. I want to chat with you guys. I want to help you guys. And thanks for listening.